Kit looked back at the gray figure bent over a kettle, stirring something with a long stick. Her spine prickled. It might be only soap, of course. She'd stirred a kettle herself just yesterday, goodness knows. Her arms still ached from it. But that lonely figure in the ragged flapping shawl, it was easy enough to imagine any sort of mysterious brew in that pot. She quickened her step to catch up with Judith. The long rows of onions looked endless, their sharp green shoots already half hidden by encroaching weeds. Judith plumped matter-of-factly to her knees and began to pull vigorously. Kit could never get over her amazement at her cousin. Judith, so proud and uppity, so vain of the curls that fell just so on over her shoulder, she so finicky about the snowy linen collar that was the only vanity allowed her, kneeling in the dirt, down, working with a high-class slave in Barbados would rebel at. Doing work which a high-class slave in Barbados would rebel at. What a strange country this was. Well, what are you standing there for? Judith demanded. Father says we have to do 3 rows before we can go home for dinner. Kit lowered herself gingerly and gathered a half-hearted handful. At the second tug, an onion shoot came to, and glancing to see it, Judith had noticed she guiltily thrust the tiny root back into the earth and patted it firm. Bother the thing, she would have to keep her mind on them. All at once, tears of self-pity brimmed in her eyes. What was she doing here, anyway? Sir Francis Tyler's granddaughter, squatting in an onion patch? She jerked at the weeds. If she should marry William Ashby, would he expect her to weed this vegetable for him? Her hands stopped moving at all while she considered this. No one was quite certain he never would. Did it seem likely that his mother, who sat so elegantly in meeting, had ever touched a chokeweed? There were no blisters under those soft gloves, Kit wagered. She knew by now that the humble folk who sat in the very back of the meeting-house were servants of the fine families of Wethersfield. William would own servants himself, beyond a doubt. She wiped a grimy hand across her eyes. Perhaps she could endure this work for a time if the future offered an escape. A more immediate escape offered itself that very noontime. The girls returned home to find Mercy brimming with excitement, her gray eyes sparkling. The most wonderful thing, Kit. Dr. Berkeley has recommended to select men that you help me with the school this summer. A school? Echoed Kit. Do you teach a school, Mercy? Just the dame school for the younger children in the summer months. Will you help me? I can take more pupils. What do you teach them? Their letters, and to read and write their names.